They not only devastate crops and knock down fences, but also cause enormous economic losses every year. What once seemed like a localized issue has rapidly spread, becoming a serious threat to both agriculture and the ecosystem. The speed at which this species adapts and expands its territory has raised significant concern among researchers, as it not only occupies habitats, but also disrupts the already fragile natural balance. What is remarkable, however, is that the way humans are addressing this issue no longer relies on outdated methods. Instead, they are combining technology with a deep understanding of animal behavior to create more effective solutions. These animals are not considered livestock, but rather an invasive species that causes substantial harm to the environment and agricultural production. Their presence brings a cascade of consequences, from crop destruction to soil degradation. Their rooting behavior in search of food turns the soil upside down, destroying its natural structure and disrupting irrigation systems. Fields that were once stable become disordered, losing the fertility necessary for crops to thrive. And it does not stop there. These animals also inflict severe damage on key crops, directly affecting food supply and farmers' livelihoods. That is why modern trapping systems have been developed, aiming not just to capture individual animals, but to control entire groups at once. This process is far more complex than simply setting a trap and waiting. It begins with a carefully calculated strategy. Operators use fermented bait with a strong scent to attract them to a fixed location. The scent spreads through the air, creating a familiar meeting point that the animals gradually return to each night. Maintaining a consistent food source is the key factor. Once the animals recognize it as an easy and safe source of food, they return more frequently, gradually losing their initial caution. After some time, the trap structure is set up around the area, but not immediately activated. This allows the animals to become accustomed to the presence of the trap without feeling threatened. After days, even weeks of monitoring, the right moment finally arrives. When the entire group, including the most cautious individuals, has gathered within the trap area, the system is activated. In that instant, the whole group is contained at once, minimizing any chance of escape. Beyond physical damage, this species also carries significant disease risks. They can act as carriers of bacteria and parasites that spread to livestock, domestic animals, and even humans. Controlling and isolating them within a closed system helps significantly reduce the risk of transmission, protecting both nearby farms and communities. Their strength is another factor that cannot be underestimated. A fully grown individual can reach a substantial weight and move at remarkable speed. When panicked, they can generate enough force to break weak structures. For this reason, trapping systems must be built with high-strength materials, solid structures, and anchored deep into the ground to ensure safety. More importantly, this method is not merely about controlling population numbers. It represents a smarter and more sustainable approach, where humans use knowledge and technology to solve problems instead of relying on reactive measures. Understanding the species' habits, instincts, and behavior has become the key to achieving long-term effectiveness. The success of a trapping system is not measured solely by the number of animals controlled, but by what is preserved. In the end, nature always exists in a delicate balance. And it is timely, science-based, and well-informed intervention that helps maintain that harmony in the most sustainable way.
Hot. What is unfolding is a quiet yet troubling shift across the entire region. Wild boars are not appearing at random. They are arriving from multiple directions at once, as if this whole landscape has already been etched into their movement map. Fresh tracks sink deep into the damp soil. Heavy footsteps echo close to residential fences, repeating night after night. The most frightening aspect is not their numbers, but the sense that the boundary of safety is slowly eroding. When a threat presses so close to living spaces, any impulsive reaction becomes dangerous. Chasing or confronting them directly at this stage solves nothing. It only increases the risk to both people and livestock. That is why a different option is chosen, not hasty action, but calculated control. Instead of reacting on instinct, the area is clearly segmented. Movement corridors are identified. Familiar crossing points used by the herds are marked. Humans step back, leaving the most dangerous part to the system. Control tools are not deployed to catch as many as possible, but to slow movement, guide direction, and keep the situation within manageable limits. The operation does not begin with noise, but with silence. Along the forest edge, where old trails crisscross like a web, suspended traps are discreetly installed. They are not meant to hold the entire herd. They function as invisible signals, forcing the boars to adjust their pace. Once triggered, the herd is compelled to slow down, change direction, and reveal the main route they are using. In the low-lying areas, where wild boars often split into small groups to forage quickly, traditional corral traps form enclosed zones. Their task is not to end the situation entirely, but to keep smaller groups in place. Immediate pressure is reduced. The land is no longer constantly churned up. Damage does not continue to spread. Closest to residential areas, the most sensitive zone, a remotely controlled smart corral trap is placed at a central point. Discreet and difficult to detect, it serves as the final lock. Every movement path must pass through this area before reaching human living space. This is a point that requires no direct human approach, even in low light or limited visibility. As dusk falls, the first signal appears from the forest edge. A suspended trap is triggered. There is no chaos. No loud noise. But the signal confirms one crucial fact: the herd is moving exactly as predicted. The forward scouting group is slowed, causing the herd behind it to split and hesitate. From that moment on, the entire system comes into operation. Without this initial layer of control, the herd could have reached residential areas in a very short time. In the low fields, corral traps begin to take effect. Several small groups are held in place. Pressure decreases noticeably. But as numbers increase, the limits of each tool gradually become apparent.
One more time. Ooh, smashing it.
No one rushes to intervene further. Everyone understands that no single measure can control the entire situation. The most important piece has not yet been deployed. Detection devices register movement at the intersections of multiple routes. The boars grow more cautious, more alert, yet they continue into the prepared zone. At that moment, the smart corral trap is activated remotely. There is no panic. No spread. Within a short time, the main group is contained. Most importantly, no one has to approach directly under unsafe conditions. At this stage, the trap is no longer merely a control tool. It becomes the final layer of protection for the community. The following morning, the fields show no new signs of destruction. The situation concludes not through confrontation or force, but through an understanding of behavior, planned control, and responsible intervention. In wild boar management, sustainable solutions do not come from humans standing face to face with nature. They come from knowing when to step back and allowing systems to handle the most dangerous tasks.
This is what we're dealing with.
In many rural areas, the presence of wild boars rarely begins with loud or obvious signs. It usually starts with very subtle changes: a few garden beds dug up overnight, deep hoofprints pressed along the edge of a fence, or a corner of the yard overturned as if something had just been searched for beneath the soil. Wild boars are animals with strong memories and remarkable adaptability. They do not move randomly as many people assume. Within each herd, there are typically alert individuals that act as observers. They move ahead or pause to check the surroundings before the rest of the herd approaches a new area. If they detect anything unusual, the entire group withdraws immediately. This caution makes managing them far more difficult than simply placing a basic trap in the middle of a field. For that reason, the first step in the management process is usually not to set a trap right away. It begins with monitoring. Infrared cameras are installed along the trails that the herd frequently travels. These devices operate throughout the night, recording the time of appearance, direction of movement, and the number of individuals in the herd. Data that may seem simple plays a crucial role in shaping the strategy behind the operation. Without accurate information, any trap is based merely on assumption. After several days of observation, wildlife management teams begin preparing the trapping site. What matters is not deploying the trap as quickly as possible, but making the location familiar to the herd. Bait is placed in the same position for several consecutive nights. At first, only a few individuals enter the area. Gradually, the entire herd returns more frequently. When the wild boars no longer display signs of wariness, it indicates that they have accepted the site as a normal part of their surrounding environment. The design of the trapping system also plays a vital role. Many modern models use circular or wide arc-shaped structures. This shape eliminates narrow corners that wild boars often use to push against or brace themselves against the frame. When fixed leverage points are absent, panic responses are significantly reduced. This not only keeps the herd stable but also makes subsequent handling safer for both humans and animals. Another factor that is rarely mentioned but extremely important is the timing of system activation. The objective of the trap is not merely to capture a single individual. In wild boar management, effectiveness is achieved only when most of the herd is controlled at the same time. Therefore, many modern systems use cameras that transmit live images to a phone or monitoring device. Operators can observe remotely and wait until the entire herd has entered the area before triggering the closing mechanism. The entire process unfolds quickly and causes minimal disturbance to the surrounding environment. There are no sudden loud noises or prolonged chases.
Come on. Come on.
When the system functions properly, the herd barely notices the change until the enclosure has been fully secured. Notably, these systems are not built on strength or direct confrontation. They are developed from a clear understanding of animal behavior. When people take the time to observe how wild boars move, how they respond to their environment, and how they make choices, management becomes far more effective.
Let's go. Yep, yep.
In modern wildlife management, the trap is no longer viewed as a symbol of coercion. It has become part of a long-term strategy aimed at reducing conflict between humans and nature. When properly designed and responsibly used, trapping systems help protect crops, property, and the stability of rural communities. Ultimately, what makes the difference is not the size of the trap or the strength of its materials. The difference lies in how people approach the problem. When, instead of reacting hastily, they choose to observe, analyze, and act at the right moment, wild boar management becomes a controlled, sustainable process aligned with ecological balance. The morning over the fields began with an unusual silence. When the farmers stepped out to inspect their land, they quickly realized the ground had changed. Long rows of soil had been torn apart into large patches, as if a giant plow had passed through during the night. Many crops had been uprooted, their young roots exposed on the damp mud. All of these signs pointed to something familiar yet troubling. A sounder of wild boars had visited the area during the night in search of food. first, many people thought it was just a random visit. But only a few days later, the same kinds of tracks appeared again. The damaged patches of soil gradually spread, expanding from the edges of the field deeper into the cultivated area. The wild boars were not only searching for food, but also repeatedly returning along the same route. Once the herd developed a fixed travel pattern, simple attempts to drive them away were no longer effective. That was when wildlife management teams began to intervene. Instead of rushing to chase the animals away, they chose a more cautious method, studying the behavior of the wild boars before taking any action. Infrared cameras were installed along the forest edge and the trails leading into the fields. After only a few nights of observation, the picture became clearer. The boars moved in groups of 10 to 15 individuals, usually appearing at the same time each night and following the exact same paths. Understanding this pattern allowed the experts to choose more effective trap locations. Instead of placing many small devices scattered around, they focused on the intersections of the trails. There, a large steel cage trap was carefully installed. The trap frame was built from thick steel bars and firmly anchored into the ground to withstand the powerful force of adult boars. The trapdoor was designed as a gravity drop gate that could shut quickly once the trigger mechanism was activated. For several consecutive days, food was placed near the trap area while the door remained open. Fermented corn and various grains were scattered evenly inside and around the steel cage. The scent of the food quickly attracted the attention of the wild boars. At first, they stood at a distance and observed. The adults were usually the first to approach, sniffing around the area before cautiously stepping inside to test the space. After a few nights, the initial hesitation gradually disappeared. Cameras recorded the moment when the entire group began entering the trap to search for food. The younger boars followed the adults, moving through the trapdoor naturally without realizing they were stepping into a controlled space. Once the experts were confident that most of the herd had grown accustomed to entering the trap, the trigger mechanism was finally activated. Food was placed deeper inside, forcing the boars to move fully into the interior of the cage. When the leading boar touched the trigger bar, the trapdoor instantly dropped down, sealing the exit. The moment happened very quickly. Within just a few seconds, the steel cage shifted from an open state to a completely locked enclosure. The sturdy bars kept the structure stable, preventing the boars from breaking through the frame. The following morning, the management team returned to inspect the site. Inside the cage was the entire group of wild boars that had been damaging the fields for weeks.
Okay, I didn't know she was coming.
Thanks to careful observation of behavior and thorough preparation, they were able to control many individuals at once rather than dealing with each animal separately. This method not only helps reduce damage for farmers, but also demonstrates the importance of understanding wild animal behavior. When humans patiently observe and apply the right strategy, conflicts between wildlife and agricultural land can be managed more effectively. In many farming regions, cage trap systems like these are becoming an important part of wild boar management strategies. They allow managers to monitor herds, control population numbers, and reduce pressure on crops without disrupting the surrounding ecosystem. In a small village in the southern United States, the nights are no longer as quiet as they once were. Wild boars have begun to move in, tearing up fields, bending wooden fences, and leaving fresh tracks right beside the homes where people live. But this time, the villagers chose a different approach. Instead of reacting the old way with scattered and short-term measures, they made a new decision together: to build a shared control system for the entire village. This system was designed to guide the movement of wild boars and reduce long-term conflict with wildlife. This time, the question was no longer, how many wild boars can we catch? But how to ensure the entire village could sleep peacefully again. The biggest change was not the equipment, but the mindset. The goal of the system was not to catch as many boars as possible, but to break their habit of moving toward the village. The focus shifted from reaction to prevention. Instead of placing traps in areas already heavily damaged, control structures were positioned in transition zones, places where wild boars usually slow down when moving from the forest toward farmland. Here, they reduce their speed, observe their surroundings, and assess the environment before choosing their next direction. These are the critical points in their travel routes. Even a small change here can influence the movement of an entire herd. For that reason, each structure is not considered a separate trap, but part of a broader control network surrounding the village. Effective control begins with strategy, not tools. Once the system was established, residents began using bait to attract the wild boars. During the early stage, no traps were activated. Everything remained unchanged for several nights, allowing the boars to approach, observe, and gradually become familiar with the structures.
Come on. Load up. Dusty. Come on. Come on.
The cameras installed were not meant to count animals, but to track how they move, how long they stay, and how the group responds to the environment. This data helps managers understand wild boar behavior and make decisions based on observation rather than guesswork or instinct. By avoiding rushed intervention, the system operates according to natural behavior instead of forcing outcomes. When animals do not feel threatened, their true behavior becomes visible. There is no sudden blockade and no aggressive driving away. Instead, subtle adjustments gradually reduce how often wild boars move deeper toward the village, guiding them back to their natural areas. For the wild boars, these are simply different choices within their environment. But for humans, it is a way of guiding behavior without increasing stress or unnecessary risk. The entire system functions as a unified structure, driven by data, timing, and coordination between people. A system is only truly effective when every part moves in the same rhythm.
Yep, yep, yep.
By the next morning, the village slowly returns to its familiar rhythm. There are no new tracks on the ground and no new damage to fields or homes. Life begins to stabilize again.
Go.
In wildlife management, long-term solutions rarely come from direct confrontation. They come from understanding animal behavior, using data, and applying responsible guidance strategies. Peace does not come from how many animals are captured in a single night, but from creating an environment where people and nature can coexist without conflict.
There you go. Yep. Yep. Let's go. Yep. There you go.
If you found this story interesting, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel to explore more real stories about life and nature. Over $50,000 worth of crops in Texas were destroyed overnight under the hooves of a massive wild boar herd. Now, the largest trap ever set is ready. Will they manage to catch the entire herd in one go, or will everything continue to be destroyed before the farm is saved? This video documents the entire process of setting up the 30-foot diameter circular trap to capture an entire herd of wild boars. This is a very large number of boars, and if successful, it will capture a significant amount. This is the largest trap the farmer has ever set. The goal is to catch at least 30 boars at once. If the entire herd isn't caught, the remaining ones will become wary, and it will be harder to trap them the next time. This all stems from the fact that this 500-acre farm has suffered significant losses. In Texas, wild boars are no longer a rare sight in a few remote farms. They appear everywhere, from the dry slopes in the west, cotton and cornfields in the central, to the dense forested riverbanks in the east. Deep footprints in the wet mud are becoming more common. It's not just one or two wandering boars, but entire herds moving at night. Texas is now considered the epicenter of the wild boar crisis in the U.S., with over 2.5 million boars, nearly half of the wild boar population in the country. Texas wild boars are actually a mix of different breeds. Escaped domestic pigs and wild boars imported from Europe for sport hunting many decades ago. They are heat-resistant, good at finding water, and can eat almost anything. An adult boar can weigh between 200 to 660 pounds. Large boars with broad shoulders and thick fat layers can easily knock down steel fences if the structure is not sturdy enough. They live in herds, called sounders, consisting of sows and piglets. A herd can have anywhere from 10 to more than 30 members. Mature boars typically live alone, only joining the herd during mating season. Wild boars are mostly nocturnal, especially in areas with high hunting pressure. Their sense of smell is extremely sharp. Even the smallest change in smell or sound can cause the entire herd to change direction. Wild boars can carry dangerous diseases like brucellosis and leptospirosis, posing threats to livestock and humans. Traffic accidents involving wild boars are not uncommon, especially on rural roads at night. If left uncontrolled, these aggressive wild boars will continue to devastate farmland. To combat this, Texas allows year-round wild boar hunting on private land without seasonal restrictions. Control methods include large cage traps, remote-controlled corral traps, night hunting with night vision goggles, and even controlled helicopter hunting on large 1,000-acre farms. A 4-gauge steel circular trap was built like a solid fortress. The circular design creates an open space, encouraging the entire herd of boars to confidently walk in. The 8-foot steel gate, weighing 150 pounds, is connected via LTE and can be activated remotely via phone. The trap is set at an intersection. The steel gate is carefully barricaded to prevent the herd from escaping and is secured by T-shaped steel posts driven 90 centimeters deep to withstand the push of mature boars. Every day, about 90 kilograms of corn is scattered. The gate is left open for 3 to 5 nights to allow the herd to familiarize itself with the trap. When the infrared camera confirms the entire herd is deep inside, the gate is activated from 6.6 kilometers away via a silencer. The reason I do this is that there are other boars inside the trap, and once the gate closes, there will be no way out. As a result, 32 wild boars were trapped with an estimated total weight of over 2,500 pounds.
The call came at 6 a.m. A farmer said that his entire field had been torn up in just one night. He explained that the newly planted soybean rows had been uprooted everywhere. The soil turned into long furrows, as if a tractor had passed through in the dark. He was certain that the wild boars had returned. I quickly gathered my equipment and headed to the farm on the edge of town. When I arrived, the tracks across the field told the whole story. For me, this was not an unfamiliar sight. After many years working in wildlife control teams, I know that once a sounder of wild boars begins returning to a feeding area, the damage can escalate very quickly if it is not handled in time. At first, we decided to try a medium-sized steel cage trap. This type of trap is often used when only a few wild boars are suspected to be active in the area. frame was about 2 meters long and a little over 1 meter wide, strong enough to hold fully grown animals weighing dozens of kilograms. Inside, we placed fermented corn mixed with barley. The smell of the mixture is strong enough to attract wild boars from quite a distance. After checking the drop door mechanism, we left the area and allowed the cameras to record everything that happened during the night. In the recorded footage, the wild boars appeared from the edge of the forest. They moved slowly forward, sniffing the ground as they approached. One large animal stepped inside first, and the others followed one by one. Eventually, several wild boars were inside the trap, but in later clips, many more could still be seen circling outside before disappearing back into the forest before sunrise. Looking at those images, I realized the small trap was solving only a small part of the problem. Once wild boars become familiar with a food source in an area, they usually travel in large groups. If only a few are caught, the rest will return and the damage will continue. So we decided to change our strategy. The next day, a large corral-style trap system was installed in an open area near where the boars usually passed. Steel posts were driven into the ground to form a circular enclosure dozens of meters wide. A steel mesh fence nearly 3 meters high was secured around it to prevent the animals from jumping out. Two one-way doors were installed at the entrance. When a boar pushed the door inward, the hinge mechanism caused it to swing shut behind it. Instead of placing bait in a single spot, we scattered fermented corn along a trail leading from outside the trap into the center. This method helps the animals gradually become comfortable with the structure without feeling forced. During the first few days, we simply left bait around the area so the boars could move in and out freely. Infrared cameras recorded their movements every night. With each passing night, more animals appeared. It became clear that the herd had started treating the area as a regular feeding ground. By the fourth night, when we activated the door system, almost the entire herd had moved inside. In the footage, the animals walked through the entrance one after another. There was no panic. They were focused only on the food ahead. When the last one stepped inside, the door quietly closed. The entire group was contained with almost no loud noise. From a distance, we could hear the faint sound of metal vibrating as the boars moved inside the steel enclosure. As we approached, the scene became clear. Dozens of wild boars were crowded inside the trap. We quickly inspected the entire frame, tightened the locking points, and ensured the structure remained stable. In wildlife management work, experience shows that effective control does not come from rushed actions. It comes from understanding how animals move, how they search for food, and how they respond to their environment. Once those patterns are understood, control measures can be carried out in a responsible and effective way.
That morning began like any other day, but when the farmer stepped into the field, he immediately realized something was wrong. One corner of the field looked as if it had been plowed during the night. The soil had been turned into large clumps, and plant roots were exposed from the damp ground. Along the forest edge were deep and wide footprints, forming a trail that stretched into the field. At first, many people thought it was just a few animals passing by, but the next morning, and the morning after that, the same signs appeared again. The paths gradually became clearer, like small roads formed in the darkness. Late one night, dark shapes began to emerge from the edge of the forest. It was not one or two animals, but an entire herd. They moved in an orderly way, stopping for a few seconds before continuing deeper into the field. Soon the sound of soil being dug up could be heard. Within just a few minutes, the ground was overturned in many large patches. Young plants that had just sprouted were uprooted from the soil. This scene repeated itself over many nights. It showed that the wild boar herd had begun to treat this field as a regular feeding place. Instead of rushing to chase the boars away at night, the management team decided to observe more carefully. They noticed that the herd often stopped at an open area before spreading across the field. At that exact location, a large circular trap was set up. The frame of the trap was made from strong steel and firmly anchored into the ground. However, during the first few days, the trap door remained completely open. The goal was not to capture the herd immediately, but to allow them to become familiar with the new structure. After the trap was installed, food was placed near the entrance. The bait was usually crushed corn mixed with water and a small amount of molasses to create an attractive smell. During the first nights, the herd only ate outside and then left. Gradually, a few individuals began stepping inside. Nothing unusual happened. They ate and then walked back out. After a few days, the bait was placed deeper inside the trap. The boar slowly became accustomed to entering the area without any difficulty. One night, the herd moved in more numbers than before. The first animals stepped through the trap frame naturally. The others followed and gathered around the bait area. When almost the entire herd had entered, the trap was activated. The sliding door dropped quickly and closed off the entire space. All exits were blocked within just a few seconds. The moment happened very quickly, but was the result of many days of preparation and observation. In wild boar management, capturing the entire herd is often more effective than dealing with individual animals. If a few escape, they can become more cautious and change their movement patterns. This would make the herd harder to approach in the future. But when the whole herd is captured at once, the habit of returning to the field is immediately broken. This greatly reduces pressure on the farmland in a short time. After the herd was contained, new signs of soil disturbance no longer appeared. The trails along the forest edge slowly faded over time. Areas that had been dug up earlier gradually stabilized again. The farmer could begin planting new rows of crops without worrying that the soil would be turned over again the next morning. Over time, wild boars adjust their routes to search for other areas where food is easier to access. The field they once visited frequently is no longer part of their nightly path. There's no need for constant chasing or strong pressure. When environmental conditions change, the herd naturally moves to more suitable places. This is also how many agricultural regions maintain long-term stability without directly confronting wildlife.